This is Joelle. I'm just testing out the live feed. Welcome to the Vibrary on YouTube. This is my internet home for all things elevating, enlightening, and empowering. So I'm here today. I just popped on to do a live and test the technology, and I also wanted to spotlight a deck that I just added to the Vibrary collection. I actually added two decks this week, and I'm very, very pleased with the decks that I received. So I wanted to just show those to you. So the artist and card creator is Isha Lerner. Now, I first came across her website connected to information about the Bach flower remedies. Now, I am not in depth familiar with this mode of healing, but I did a little research after I found out. Well, through her website, which is very informative, I found out there's a whole science and study behind the vibrational frequency of flower essences. And so, as I was getting into the information on her site, what led me there was actually um, fig. The fig plant came up for me in my own spiritual work, and so I was googling to see what the meaning of figs were, and I ran across her page and her content several months ago. I recently came back to that page to do a little more research because other flowers had been coming up, and I really liked the guidance that she was giving. So I just went ahead, and after getting some very powerful messages, I decided to order the deck. And then she also had pick a card readings on her website, and there were three decks featured. So I ended up actually getting two of those decks, and they just arrived this week. So the first one is the Triple Goddess Tarot set. And I am a big fan of sets that include in-depth information. So this is one where you get a very, very insightful book to go along with it. So it's really about reading and learning and expanding your knowledge along with utilizing the deck itself. So this was the first deck that arrived for me. I have not actually opened the cards and done a reading with them just because I wanted to make sure that I got through the front material, which is rather extensive. So that was the first deck that came. And then, of course, the Power of Flower deck, created by Isha Lerner, illustrated by Karen, you have to excuse me, Forkish. So as you can see from the art on the front cover, it's just quite beautiful, and the lotus flower is always a symbol to me of the divine feminine. So this deck, I knew that it was going to be very beautiful to use. So as I said, I did already look up information about fig and iris, but I have not yet read with the cards themselves as a in a full reading. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle these and pull a couple cards here and see what guidance comes through. Now, I will say that the information in each section about the card deals with the essence of the flower itself. There is a blessing, which is very much like a poem, and then the plant signature and frequency, archetype, healing with the plant, and a practical application of the plant as well. So it's actually very interesting because, as you know, when you use divination tools, there is the ability for your own guidance to deliver through you meaningful messages based on your own personal experience. So if I were to draw a rose card, then my own experience and meaningfulness of rose would be the first guidance that I would receive. If you're claircognizant, clairaudient, clairvoyant, you might see, hear, or know information that is psychically derived or from the higher realms that will then come through you based on the trigger or the prompt from that image or that statement. But when we use oracle cards, many of them have really embody a depth of study and research that people have done. And I think that there is a lot of value in that. There's no way that I could become an expert on flower remedies. And yet here we have this research in this book that expands, I think, almost 20 years of her career, to be able to use her knowledge and ingest that knowledge in addition to my own personal use of the flower symbolism. So for myself, the lotus flower is always a prompt, but I haven't gotten into here yet to see what additional information will come out to supplement it. Now, I will say that if you are looking on Amazon, this particular deck is not available on there except from secondhand retailers. I was looking, it was running like $100 for the deck and cards used. So it definitely, people are valuing it, but it is available direct from her website, which I want to say is floweressences.com. I'll put it in the notes here because I don't want to change screens while I'm on on this particular thing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and shuffle cards. There are 2 cards in the deck that have information with them. And there is also then a small accompanying book with the card deck as well, in addition to the larger book. So it says here that 32 beautifully illustrated cards interweave of flowers with corresponding archetypes. Inspired by her work with flower essences, astrology, tarot, alchemy, sacred gardening, folklore, and mythology, Isha Lerner takes the reader on a magical journey through the garden gates and into the feminine soul of nature, with Mother Nature on the ultimate oracular. As the ultimate oracular, we begin a synergistic dance in which the flowers reveal themselves to our greatest allies in this adventure called evolution. Okay, beautiful. Power of flowers. So what I'm going to do is, everyone, as you know, it's always good to bless your deck prior to using it, and you can speak to the purpose which you will be using it. Most deck guides usually include their own kind of consecration to use, but of course, whatever you do that is your practice, that opens up that connection with those cards as a tool for accessing the, I recommend that you do that. And as always, I request that only the information that is of unconditional love and for the highest good of all be allowed to come through me and through this channel for this work that I'm doing. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and just give the cards a shuffle, and we'll see what flower essences and energy want to be made known to us today. So I'm very excited about this. I'll probably do more than one card simply so that you can see the artwork that is on them. One reason that I don't do full deck reviews on my channel is because really, as soon as I start seeing images in the cards, the psychic information comes through. So if I were to continue pulling cards, then I would continue reading, and receiving downloads, and that can be very overwhelming. So most of my card decks, I really only see them the first time that I use them, or when I am studying the deck, if, like I said, if it's a more in-depth kind of experience. So to those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in today. If you say something in the chat, I definitely wanted to acknowledge you for showing up for this. Okay. Oh, I love it. The first card that comes up is Lotus. I love it. So very affirming, as I was just talking about The lotus to me is a very strong symbol of the presence of the divine feminine. And as a channel for the divine feminine from the Sophia, all the iterations of divine femininity. So we have Kuan Yin, we have Green Tara, we have, the flowering of compassionate and unconditional love. The lotus is always such a beautiful pink in the art that I connect with. And so this is, so beautiful because it really just talks about our flowering of divinity, the flowering of our consciousness, and the connection. Here we have the waters, her feet are in the waters, and the waters connect with the emotional body, which is very much a part of our feminine aspect. Now, the stories of Kuan Yin and speak of having compassion for others, even though they may have wronged us. And then also having the compassionate, nurturing kindness to be able to alleviate suffering, the suffering that we see in the world. That's very much, the call to this. So I'm very, very curious to see here. And I just love, again, how Spirit affirms for that. So I know that my bestie Tanya is tuned into the live, and she just recently got a beautiful glass crystal piece for her home office that is a lotus etched inside of a crystal suspended in the air. And then one of our favorite jewelry makers amongst my friends is Golden Era Creations, and Mediwa is a beautiful spirit and kind soul, and she has made myself and she makes these in general, but several of my friends have bought her organite pendant, which is a lotus flower as well. And I always carried mine with me until it got a little weather worn in Mexico. But so the lotus flower, it's constantly appearing. Oh, hello, Helen. It is lovely to see you. I just love the sister network, She's joining us from down under. So I'm so glad I caught you on a day. So I'm just getting ready to read the guidance from the Lotus card from this Power of Flowers book. So you'll forgive me because I do need to put a little extra light on here. But let's see what number the lotus is. It is on page 63. So we know that also the lotuses, they grow in the mud many, many years before they actually flower. So, that a lot of that speaks to our personal experience of life, which happens in a way that we go through the mud, and then that mud brings forward the healing, the trials and tribulations that we experience, help unlock in us a compassion for ourselves when we realize all through, but then also to unlock compassion for other people as well, because we've experienced a little bit possibly of the struggle that is common for all of us to grow here on this earth plane. So first we have the lotus. Latin is Nelumbo nucifera. Okay. The blessing is this: divine lotus, your 1,000-petal blossom ignites spiritual rebirth and keen insight. In silent bliss, in infinite love, I embody your wisdom from above. Beautiful. The plant's signature. The lotus is a water plant with roots reaching deep into the muddy earth. Its pastel pink, yellow-centered petals close each night as the moon appears in the night sky, only to arise each morning as the sun ushers in a new day. In the center of the flower is a capsule containing thousands of nut-like seeds capable of sprouting after laying dormant for nature. It's very interesting that womb is coming up because I am getting ready to participate in a group event with the Seven Sisters Mystery School, Marguerite Riglioso. She is getting ready to start a series on early womb chakra and bringing forth teachers from the Mother Mary lineage and the mystery schools about this womb chakra. So I love seeing that the womb is mentioned again because that just affirms the synchronicity for me. As a flower essence, as an elixir, the lotus stimulates divine inspiration and spiritual liberation. Miraculously, it moves the dark and muddy aspects of the psyche upward, ultimately enabling them to self liberate through the crown chakra, the seventh sacred center of the body. The lotus assists us in receiving guidance and insight from spiritual realms and can strengthen meditative states of consciousness wherein wisdom and tranquility are to be found. This sacred flower should be used with much humility and gratitude, for it is a great help to humanity at this time of spiritual crisis. The archetype. Kuan Yin, known as the Mother of Compassion, is the Buddhist embodiment of compassionate, skillful means. Having formerly been a male deity by the name of Avalokitesvara, she underwent a sex change in ancient China because it was thought that only the feminine principle could adequately inspire and guide spiritual seekers to the terrifying abyss known as emptiness, the great unknown where the ego drops away and there is only one's original face before you were born, the true self. For her great skill in this regard, she is likened to the lotus. To the Gnostic Christians, she was known as the Holy Spirit or World Mother and was said to have ushered in the golden balance residing in the hearts of all people. I love that, the golden balance residing in the hearts of all people. Healing. In the East, the lotus is considered a perfect microcosmic reflection of the growth of human consciousness, three stages of evolution: ignorance, skillful means, and enlightenment. At the first stage, corresponding to ignorance, the lotus roots extend upward from the muddy lake bottom. At the second stage, corresponding to skillful means, the lotus stem is caressed and supported by the water. Finally, at the third stage, corresponding to enlightenment, the lotus flower blossoms into the light of day. Kuan Yin comes to you at this moment to reassure and inspire you in your spiritual quest for full awakening. As a bodhisattva of infinite compassion, she appears to you in whatever form will most aid you in your journey. Your yearning for enlightenment is witnessed, honored, and fulfilled. Kuan Yin sits on the thousand-petaled throne, the tantric symbol for the yoni, or feminine principle. She honors the waters of life, the great womb of suchness, wherein all beings reside, whether in ignorance or in an enlightened state. Pregnant with all possibilities, she makes even the most profound realization possible, and no one awakens without embracing her feminine nature in the process. This card symbolizes spiritual birth. The vessel at Kuan Yin's side is a gift of her mysteries offered to you. You are crowned with a thousand-petaled lotus, for many seeds of wisdom are germinating within you. What level of realization are you about to birth? Practical application. The lotus elixir must be used with great reverence, for it attunes one to the seventh chakra or crown and opens the channels of the chakras above the head, vertically aligned with your high self. Thus, it facilitates the grounding of higher knowledge, meditative experience, and spiritual vision. When seeking this type of assistance, you might rub some of this essence directly onto the crown chakra. Do not do this if you plan to drive or operate heavy machinery, however. You might also drop some of the elixir in a warm bath, listen to beautiful music, and attune yourself to Kuan Yin. You will become like a thousand-petaled lotus in the water, flowering and opening to higher states of awareness as the muddy depths of your unconscious are cleansed, refreshed, and purified. Clients engaged in the study of spiritual traditions and disciplines often benefit from the use of the lotus elixir. For example, Sarah, a graduate student in religious studies, used the lotus essence while writing her dissertation on Buddhist themes related to the 12-step recovery model. Consequently, she reported an ability to think in more subtle and nuanced terms about the interplay of these two spiritual paths. Lotus Essence also attunes one to new cycles of spiritual attainment and has helped many clients access greater clarity regarding their true life missions. A client named Cynthia came to me feeling confused and lost in the midst of a midlife crisis centered around her career. Later, she described being gently led to a place of clarity and surrender in her to her destiny while under the healing influence of this powerful elixir. In retrospect, she described really knowing all along what she was here to accomplish, but pretending not to know due to feelings of unworthiness. With the help of the lotus essence, the veil of unworthiness was parted long enough for Cynthia to remember her true self and to find new direction and motivation and energy to move forward. Much to her delight, Cynthia discovered that everything she had previously learned or experienced, even those events that had seemed accidental or random, was in fact part of some bigger plan preparing her for her life's work. Absolutely nothing was wasted. When creating a sacred healing circle for ritual purposes, lotus essence may be added to a bowl of water placed at the center of the circle. Put a white candle beside the bowl and ask that the flame of purification burn as all members of the circle bless themselves with the water, dabbing it on their foreheads, hearts, and the palms of their hands. Next, each person may move the energy of purification around the body, encircling the aura, cleansing it, and freeing it of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual blockages. The entire room will soon be filled with light as each person bathes in the nectar of lotus essence. A statue of Kuan Yin may be present, for she is the consort who guides one through the gates of purification. In fact, I often wash my statue of Kuan Yin in a lotus bath. She emanates such love and beauty after the cleansing. I recommend the same to others. Wow, this is very beautiful. What stands out to me is that, talking about the seeds that are within, there's been a lot of talk right now about like the babies, birthing babies, or bringing forward your seeds of inspiration that have been gestating within you, that you nurturing, waiting for the right time or for the right season for those things to burst forth. One thing about the lotus is that it blooms in its own time. So the expansion of self really is a never ending process. Like we're always learning more about ourselves in this world as that consciousness and awareness expands. So we are ever germinating more things out of that new and expanded consciousness. And it can be very exciting, but it can also be rather overwhelming when you feel that you have all this stuff just ready to burst out and you're thinking, I should be doing something. But as we know, gestation takes time, the flower takes time. And so just allow yourself the compassion to say, it's okay if these aren't ready to be born yet or to be birthed out into the material world. So I think that that is very beautiful. And I was just recalling I have lots of things with the feminine Buddha energy around a beautiful globe with the golden sparkles. And of course, I have the lotus in hands on my back area there as well, outstretched. So it's a very beautiful energy, and I love that it came out. So I wanted to see then also what is on the bottom of the deck. Oh, are you kidding me? Rose. So as I said in the first part of this video, rose is a symbol that for me is very strong. It speaks to the divine feminine and divine feminine love, the Mary Magdalene, the Virgin Mary, the Sisters of the Rose Order. And that all has to do with bringing forth the secrets, the high priestess secrets of the divine mysteries of the Sophia into the feminine realm, and being a healer and connected to the divine in that capacity through and what that has looked like throughout the ages. So we have here both a pink flower and it looks to be a yellow rose as well. And it looks very much like a rainbow overarching. And it looks like there is another rose even at the top. So this is so beautiful. Like the rose, I'm hearing, A Kiss from a Rose by Seal. But, this is just so beautiful. We have like the red of the root chakra and the blue of divine. The divine is around the material or root chakra manifestation. It's very much wrapped into that. Pink again is going to be compassionate, soft, self-loving, and the yellow is so vibrant and bright and empowering. So I love that these are the two flowers that most prominent on here. And also, I have to say that for me, I'm not Catholic, but a few years ago, Mother Mary started coming through to me in messages and began to work very closely with me. And so since that time, I've started bringing her energy into my home. And so this to me speaks of like Mother Mary energy as well, with the cape and the robe. So let us see what rose is on. It is on page 34, I think, or 54. Let's see here. It is 54. Both of these are nines today. There were 63 and 54. So that says to me that we might be nearing the completion of a cycle. Of course, this is the 9th month, and we just had the 9-9 kind of gateway. Whenever there are numerical alignments, it tends to amplify the energy. So we could be very much at a place of there being ending to a particular phase or period of our life. And it's always good to know that we're getting ready to embark on something new after that phase draws to its conclusion. So the Latin word is rosaceae. And the blessing is this: Holy Rose, Queen of Love, your beauty is divine. Sacred is your tenderness, jewel of nature, sweet and kind. The plant signature. The rose family includes many species of 5-petaled flowers in the shape of pentagrams or 5-pointed stars, which offer humanity a beautiful symbol of cosmic love accessible through the human heart. The rose's thorny stem is in marked contrast to its sweet scent, reflecting the suffering and pain one must sometimes endure in order to understand and experience real love. Perhaps humanity will one day evolve beyond the need for thorns, but for now, quote, more suffering is evidently necessary, end quote. The roots of the rose bush grow deep into the ground, making the uprooting of this plant difficult. Just as a human being can surmount great obstacles, especially with the purity of self-love as a foundation, the rose bush is tenacious and can endure extreme weather and neglect. I think that's so interesting because one of the conversations that I've had with my divine counterpart is that, he said very clearly, I have thorns. It's like a rose. I have thorns and you have thorns too. So like the whole analogy of realizing that there are some thorny bits and pieces that you have to work around in order to get to the beauty of life. And we as human beings carry those thorny bits and pieces, and we have to deal with them ourselves as well. And then those who come to know us have to learn our thorny bits as well in order to come into full love with us. So, and that's not to say you need to just be a prickly thorn bush, but we are to experience the growth part of life in order to experience the beauty part of life. So, in the flower essence, the rose essence is one of the purest vibrations in existence. Whatever its color or species, it always invokes the most profound dimensions of love, accomplishing this through a gentle stimulation of the heart chakra located at the center of the human body. Perhaps the rarest and most sublime of all rose essences is derived from the green rose. It opens the heart chakra, which is strengthened by the color green, to extremely high levels of intuition channeled through the very core of the human heart. Wow, I have never heard of a green rose before. I'll definitely be looking a picture of that up because that has to be amazing. The archetype: Madonna, Mary, Queen of Heaven, Mother of the World. The Virgin Mary has at various times been referred to as the Holy Rose, the Mystic Rose, and Goddess of the Rose. The rosary or rose wreath, originating in the Middle East as a form of worship to the Virgin Goddess, was eventually Christianized, taking the form of a prayer to the Virgin Mary. What is more, been said that Mary's Immaculate Conception was brought about by a magic rose. Similarly, it was not uncommon for stained glass windows in ancient Christian cathedrals to depict Mary surrounded by roses. Like the five-petaled apple blossom and the five-lobed apple, the rose forms a natural pentagram. While the apple is associated with Aphrodite, goddess of love, as well as with Eve in the Garden of Eden, its close counterpart, rose, is associated with Mary, said to be the second Eve and also known as the flower of Venus. It was in ancient India that the goddess was first symbolized as the holy rose, whose body was considered a temple. This philosophy gave rise to an understanding that the temple, the garden, and the female body were mystically one, coalescing into a pure, fertile womb. The goddess was represented as the universe itself, containing the essence of the male or the masculine principle within herself. At the mystical core of Christianity, Mary, a derivative of the goddess, embodies the immaculate mystery of birth, for her Christ child represents the alchemical balance of masculine and feminine principles which issue forth from the womb. Mary, the moon, gives birth to the light of the world in the form of the cosmic child, making her the cosmic birther of all that is sacred. Sadly, our culture has lost its connection to this deeper mythology of the Queen of Heaven. Healing. The Austrian mystic Rudolf Steiner offers a unique perspective on the birth of Christ, suggesting that Mary, in fact, gave birth to twin souls, one dedicated to the path of the truth, the yellow rose, and the other dedicated to the path of the heart, the pink rose. In this way, according to Steiner, Mary offered the world both the forces of universal logos and of universal love. In choosing this card, you are greeted by the rose goddess, gently announcing your readiness to accept the twin gifts of cosmic love and wisdom in the mystic rose. Mary's balancing of the head and the heart is symbolized by the sun, aglow as an aura of light around her head, and an illumined rose shining forth from deep within her heart. Behind her stands a weeping willow tree, offering its branches to mystical muses for the making of wands. Such branches were once considered cosmic connectors to the stars. Mary sits surrounded by the delicate flower, shooting star. The flower essence derived from its blossoms assists humanity with the birthing of higher forms of consciousness on earth. Allow your mind to be illuminated with the yellow clarity of the sun as you open your solar body to new inspiration. At the same time, open your heart to the stream of rose light now encircling your energy field. You are dearly blessed. Wow, this is beautiful. So, a part of the journey is coming in to know thyself, and we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. And the balance of how we to integrate polarity rather than being in a dualistic kind of either or reality. So I love that this has that embodiment of the in both masculine and feminine. There's the magnetic and the electric, and they work together. Our external and our internal. So our internal emotional state is the womb space, wherein the creation is gestated, and then the birthing. Once the birth is moved out into the energy of the world, and the masculine takes that and nurtures it through material manifestation in terms of the external or electric effort. So I love that both of these were, included in here. And I honestly did not see the flower in her heart. I overlooked that. So that is very beautiful. I love how these almost look like little babies too in these pictures. This yellow one kind of looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid. The rose looks like a Cabbage Patch, if you know what those are. So practical application. The rose is considered the lotus of the heart. How beautiful. Its vibration is pure and devotional, offering a full spectrum of colors, each a variation on the general theme. For example, the white rose purifies the heart. The pink rose gently opens and protects the heart. The yellow rose bridges mind and heart, and the red rose strengthens the vein of love between two people and deepens the romantic quality of the heart. The peach rose offers peace and gaiety to the heart. And finally, multicolored roses blend and mix the variations described above. The rose essence is one of the most beneficial for conditions of the heart chakra, and issues regarding love. Highly effective when taken by itself, the healing properties of this essence can be greatly enhanced when you use in tandem with rose oil or aromatherapy. You may blend the rose flower elixir with massage oil or lotion and gently rub it around the heart chakra. Several of my clients report visions of incandescent pink or white light surrounding them when they are massaged with rose essence. The rose essence unites with the universal feminine matrix, and consequently, I have connected it to the Divine Mother. Therefore, I suggest that my clients hang or carry with them a picture or a symbol of the Divine Mother from the tradition of their choice, and that as they take the essence, they visualize their lives graced with the overlighting presence of the additional of her unconditional love. Likewise, when aligning yourself to the rose and its healing properties, I suggest you anchor and attune yourself to Mother Earth, for she holds the roots of this beloved plant deep within her, just as the rose essence grounds and sustains your healing. When my youngest daughter, Sophie, was born, a dear friend planted a wild rose in our yard in celebration of her birth. This plant has blossomed with tremendous abundance year after year, showering my daughter with indescribable love and protection. Each spring, since she has been old enough to understand, Sophie goes out into the yard, eager to see if there are new buds on the plant. And at 6 years old, she now comes running to tell me how much love the flowers are giving her. When she is sad, she is often drawn to the rose bush for consolation as well. I highly recommend planting a rose bush for a new baby. It is a beautiful way to honor a child, offering tangible yet magical love from the realm of the flowers. Rose is also a beautiful essence for use during pregnancy and childbirth. It can be rubbed onto the belly, enhancing the quality of love exchanged between mother and unborn child. I recommend putting a drop of rose essence, highly diluted, on the rosy lips of a newborn, welcoming him or her with perhaps the sweetest elixir on earth. Oh, so that is so beautiful. I see here green rose, Helen says, or chartreuse rose. It's not that abundant in nature, but this doesn't lessen its beauty. The very color of this beautiful species is a symbol of abundant growth, wealth, life, rejuvenation of the spirit, new beginnings, and cheerfulness. Beautiful. Thank you. It's so interesting because here we have the babies and newborn babies coming up again. And I'm telling you, I had a dream last week, and in it, these babies we were working to rescue babies that had fallen in the water. But I knew that they weren't baby babies, they were like adult babies because of the way that they were shaped. And myself and several people who I apparently knew, we were diving in the water and pulling these babies out and handing them to people on the shore who were waiting. So, the babies coming up, and several people had babies come up in our conversations even as of yesterday. So apparently, there's a lot newborn energy, and that could be newly awakened people who are just waking up to their consciousness, or waking up to the state of the world, so to speak, or coming into contact with their higher self. And it also is the things that we are, oh, yeah, you've been having babies in dreams too. Yes, it was not a pleasant dream. It was rather intense because, these little beings were dropping down and we were trying to like rescue them. So it was pretty grueling overall, as my dreams were last week. Thankfully, they've settled down. But yes, so these babies could also be like literally the seeds that we've been gestating inside of us. I know if I were to find out that I would be having a baby right now, it would be a real different situation for me because at 48, I'm not looking to do that. And it would be a surprise to name all surprises. So I'm only receiving the energy that these are the babies of newborn spirits and project and ideas and things that will be coming forward. But for those of you who are looking to bring real child into the world, then hopefully this is a good message for you also of affirmation. I think it's so interesting that it says here that the rose is like the lotus of the earth. And, to have both of these come up in this first reading for you with this deck is absolutely beautiful. And Spirit does have a sense of humor because I love how that happens, when it just affirms that, your inner guidance is on track. So I thank you for tuning in today. As I said, I don't really read through cards very much. I'll show a few. Well, I can't even show because once I see a card, then I have to read what it's about and understand what it's about. But of the two most meaningful flowers to come out in this initial reading, this was super special for me. I don't own any flower essences as of yet. If you look on her website, and like I said, I'll post it in the comments below. Definitely check out the information there because even just reading through the flowers and the essences that they have, you can learn a great deal of information. And the essences themselves were not that expensive at all. And from what I understand, this is not like aromatherapy, excuse me. Thank you, Helen, for tuning in. Much love to you too as well. So yeah, I was concerned because I thought, well, I have allergies and I'm allergic to almost every plant. So I didn't necessarily want to get into plant things. But as I was reading about it, I don't think it necessarily is going to be the allergy experience that one would think with aromatherapy and things like that. So I definitely have a little wish list that I'm growing. I don't think I've ever smelled a lotus scent before. I certainly have rose, and I have rose soaps for my bath and rose petal type soaks and things like that. It's one of my favorite things to use, probably for that very reason. So I definitely am going to honor that and float in the water this evening as I take my bath. Does anybody who's been on have any questions? I appreciate you tuning in from way down under and just around the corner here in Atlanta, too. I have many other decks that I would like to show on the channel. And so I am getting ready to start doing these more often. As you can see, I have many cards here behind me, and I have several decks, on my desk. As you can see, I find so much guidance and wisdom in these cards. So this is, beautiful message today from the Power of Flowers deck by Isha Lerner. Definitely give her a call, give her a check out. Thank you for tuning in. I don't receive any compensation for this. This is just my honest review of the deck that I purchased myself. And I love sharing it with you. And if anyone is interested in having a reading, my contact information will be below this video. And it is a beautiful reading from the Divine Feminine, and this deck is very feminine focused. She speaks to that in the introductory materials about how the feminine energy just really came through from the Earth Mother and all that grows forth from her in this resource. So I thank you all for listening today. I hope that your week ends on a high note and that next time you are outside, you stop and smell the roses. All right? Thank you. Namaste.